This is a look at NFL prospects who entered the league surrounded by significant warning signs, and in the pros, they validated every single concern held by their critics. Let's begin with Johnny Manziel, who came into the NFL with a host of serious issues that talent evaluators simply could not overlook. Experts on the draft raised doubts about his character, pointing out his failure to lead by example and a palpable sense of superiority wrapped in a primadonna attitude. Numerous reports brought his intense party scene, lifestyle, and fascination with the glamour of Hollywood to the forefront. Widespread apprehension about his self-control and dedication to his craft was validated when he confessed to never studying game film on his own. The skeptics were immediately vindicated. Taken 22nd overall by the Browns, Manziel managed a dreadful 2-6 starting record over 8 appearances. He accumulated a meager 1,675 yards with an even 7 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, resulting in a 74.4 passer rating. One of his initial starts as a rookie was an unmitigated disaster, producing only 80 yards and 2 interceptions in a 30-0 shellacking. From arriving tardy for team meetings and flashing an obscene gesture at opponents on a national broadcast, to deceiving his coaches about being in party videos and skipping a required concussion protocol appointment to go party in Vegas, he confirmed every single fear about his character and was cut after just 2 seasons at the young age of 23. Johnny Manziel's professional football journey was finished almost before it began, much like the career of another quarterback, Tim Tebow. Tebow entered the professional ranks with profound mechanical shortcomings that analysts cautioned would ultimately seal his fate. Observers frequently pointed to his drawn-out, looping, throwing delivery, and sloppy footwork as major problems. Furthermore, scouts observed his tendency to turn away from the defense, his difficulties operating a professional-style offense, and how his left-handedness would make protecting his blind side more challenging. His athletic ability was often exaggerated, and he never became the dynamic two-way player that many had envisioned. To be considered a true dual threat, a player must excel at both passing and running, a standard he couldn't meet. The prevailing opinion was that he simply didn't possess the necessary talent or skills to lead an NFL team, yet Denver still traded up to select him 25th overall. The outcome proved his detractors right. Across 3 seasons, Tebow managed to complete a mere 48% of his passes for 2,422 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. His 2011 season was the perfect illustration of his limitations, featuring a 46.5% completion rate and a 72.9 passer rating. Despite a surprising 7-4 record as the starter in Denver and a single playoff win, he never evolved past the abilities he showed in college. By 2012, he had been demoted to a backup role with the Jets and was out of the league for good at just 25 years of age. Even his attempt at a short-lived comeback with the Jaguars failed to gain any traction. Speaking of comeback attempts that fell flat, we have Aldon Smith, whose case is somewhat startling given the Hall of Fame trajectory his career initially followed. While at Missouri, Aldon Smith was an undeniably elite pass-rushing force, but a psychological evaluation before the draft flagged him as a major liability for off-the-field problems. The evaluation noted his history of getting into trouble and identified him as having a greater than average likelihood of similar behavior down the road. The assessment warned that his subpar work ethic and failure to connect preparation with on-field success would stunt his growth. The San Francisco 49ers dismissed these red flags, choosing him with the 7th overall pick in 2011. Although he amassed an incredible 47.5 sacks in his first 43 professional games, every single character flaw identified proved to be catastrophically true. Smith's career was derailed by a string of incidents, including numerous DUI arrests, weapons violations, a bomb threat at LAX, episodes of domestic violence, and violations of the league's substance abuse policy, which resulted in a lengthy suspension. After being let go by both San Francisco and later Oakland, his career came to a close when he was 31 years old. The psychological profile had been chillingly accurate. Smith's personal struggles annihilated what was shaping up to be a Hall of Fame career, confirming every pre-draft warning the 49ers decided to disregard. Next up is a trio of quarterbacks from recent drafts who have all failed to make the grade, starting with Anthony Richardson. Physically, Anthony Richardson was a marvel, boasting elite measurements at 6'4" and 244 pounds, a powerful arm, and the kind of explosive, two-way potential that led to comparisons with Josh Allen and Cam Newton. In the gym and at the combine, he appeared to be a once-in-a-generation prospect, but there were enormous and entirely justified reasons for concern. Richardson entered the draft after only a single year as the starter at Florida, where he completed a woeful 54.7% of his throws with 24 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. His decision to turn pro so soon instead of maturing in the college ranks was questioned, and his struggles with accuracy were impossible to ignore. The Indianapolis Colts selected him 4th overall in 2023, gambling on his upside rather than his proven performance. The doubters didn't have to wait long to be proven correct. Across 17 career games, Richardson has only completed 50.6% of his attempts for 2,400 yards, tossing 11 touchdowns against 13 interceptions, with his highlights being some of the most spectacular throws imaginable, and his lowlights being utterly baffling plays. His career passer rating is a dismal 67.8, and he has already been sidelined by several injuries. At 23 years old, with an 8-7 record as a starter, Richardson is still the same unrefined, inaccurate passer he was in college, only now he's more expensive and susceptible to injury. And we have a couple more quarterbacks from that same draft class who also brought injury worries with them. Let's start with Michael Penix Jr. While his arm strength was undeniable, scouts had grave reservations that made him one of the draft's most contentious figures. His medical record was a huge red flag. His collegiate career was marred by 2 torn ACLs, a fractured collarbone, and a separated AC joint. Consequently, some NFL teams gave him a first-round grade, whereas others saw him as a mid-round pick. His age was another point of contention, as he would turn 24 in May of his first year after spending 6 seasons in college. In a move that sent shockwaves through the league, the Atlanta Falcons picked him 8th overall, just after committing an enormous contract to veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins. In a move that sent shockwaves through the league, Atlanta snagged him with the 8th pick, right after handing Kirk Cousins a colossal deal. It looks like those worries were well-founded. Over 12 career starts, Michael Penix has a dismal 4-8 record, putting up just 2,757 yards with 12 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. His completion rate is stuck at 59%. That comes with a passer rating of only 85.8. The most devastating blow, however, was another torn ACL in 2025. This marked his 3rd such injury, threatening to derail a shaky career path before it ever got off the ground. Now, another injury-plagued quarterback is on the list in Jay McCarthy, that is, at number 9. But for him, durability wasn't the primary issue coming out of college. McCarthy came into the draft with a solid physical skill set, including a quality arm, fluid movement, and an innate feel for the pocket. Despite this, scouts had major reservations about his thin resume and unrefined playing style. Throughout his entire college tenure, he only threw 695 passes, a number far lower than what teams typically want to see. The majority of his throws were on play action or RPOs, with his reads decided for him pre-snap. It also became apparent that he had trouble throwing to his left, as his completion percentage on deep passes outside the numbers to that side plummeted from 56% down to 42.5%. His lack of experience caused a noticeable delay in his mental processing, meaning teams had to bet on his potential rather than on what he had already proven. Minnesota took a gamble on him at 10th overall, and so far, the critics have been proven 100% right. A torn meniscus wiped out his entire first year in the league. Then, in 2025, he only managed 10 starts, completing a meager 57.6% of his passes for 1,632 yards. With 11 touchdowns against 12 interceptions for a 72.6 passer rating. 6 passer rating. He was constantly rotating in and out of the lineup, and when he did play, he often appeared completely overwhelmed. He's lost a huge amount of time to injuries and has shown absolutely no growth from the weaknesses he had as a rookie. While it's still early with only 10 starts under his belt, the initial verdict is that those who doubted his experience had it right all along. Isaiah Simmons was another player whose experience was questioned, not due to a lack of playing time in college, but because nobody knew what position he would actually play in the NFL. Isaiah Simmons was heralded as the prototype for the future of versatile defensive players. The Clemson standout was a physical marvel, standing at 6'4" and 238 pounds, with a blistering 4 to 440-yard dash and a 39-inch vertical leap. In college, he was deployed all over the field as a linebacker, a slot corner, a free safety, and even on the defensive line. But scouts wondered if this jack-of-all-trades profile was a hidden flaw. Could he truly dominate at one spot, or was he merely passable at many? The anxieties about him lacking a true position turned out to be spot on. Arizona chose him with the 8th overall pick in 2020, and the Cardinals could never quite decide where he belonged. For 3 seasons, he was shifted between linebacker, safety, and slot corner, managing only 8.5 sacks and failing to ever earn a Pro Bowl nod. After Arizona chose not to pick up his 5th-year option, they dealt him to the Giants for a paltry 7th-round pick, a humiliating outcome for a top 10 draftee. Now, at 27, Simmons is a journeyman with Carolina, having already been let go by Green Bay. The positionless defender ultimately became a man without a home, confirming every single pre-draft worry about where he would fit in the NFL. And speaking of humiliating results, we're now entering a stretch focused on the Raiders. My apologies in advance to any Raiders fans listening. Kicking things off is Clelin Ferrell. While Ferrell was a solid producer at Clemson, draft experts seriously questioned if he was worthy of a top 5 pick. The majority of analysts had him graded much lower, seeing him as a reliable but ultimately unexciting prospect who lacked elite pass rushing traits. The scouting report consistently pointed out that he didn't have the explosive first step or the high-end athleticism to be a dominant force at the professional level. In a move that stunned the league, Oakland selected him 4th overall in 2019, leaving superstars like Josh Allen, Devin White, Brian Burns, and Ed Oliver on the board. The skeptics were immediately proven correct. Ferrell managed 4.5 sacks in his first year, only to see that number drop to just 2 sacks in 2020. Across 4 years with the Raiders, he recorded a total of only 10 sacks, failing to ever become the game-changing pass rusher the team had hoped for. Oakland declined his 5th-year option and let him walk away. Now, a vagabond who has spent time with San Francisco, Washington, and the Chargers, Ferrell has compiled 21 career sacks over 7 seasons. Coming up next, we have Alex Leatherwood. Alex Leatherwood was a prospect from Alabama with a top-tier physical profile, but he was dogged by serious questions about his technique. Pundits pointed to his over-reliance on his outside hand in pass sets, flawed punching mechanics with his hands held too low, and erratic angles when executing combo blocks. There was a widespread belief that the Raiders reached for him in a big way by taking him 17th overall in 2021, and those concerns were absolutely on the money. Leatherwood was a disaster at right tackle before the team kicked him inside to guard. As a rookie, he racked up 11 penalties and gave up numerous sacks. His fundamental mechanical issues never got better. He struggled to create leverage and lacked power in his punch, which left him susceptible to basic moves from defenders. After only a single season, Oakland cut him loose. He went on to play in just 4 games for Chicago before his career fizzled out at the age of 23. The last member of this trio is Damon Arnette. For Arnette, there was one glaring red flag, and it had everything to do with character problems. One scout described him as having a knucklehead mentality, and his reputation at Ohio State was that of a player with an attitude who resisted coaching. Arnette even confessed that he came back for his senior season specifically to repair his image after earlier behavioral issues. Las Vegas picked him 19th overall in 2020, a selection that was almost universally panned as a reach. The worries about his character turned out to be tragically accurate. Arnette tallied a mere 29 tackles and 3 pass breakups in 13 games over 2 seasons. He faced several lawsuits, one for an alleged hit and run and another for a dispute with a valet. Following the release of a video that showed him brandishing firearms and making threats against someone's life, the Raiders cut him. By November of 2021, the Raiders cut ties with him, a clear sign that he was unable to overcome his off-field troubles. After looking at the Raiders, we're shifting our focus to the Jets, who had a string of truly awful picks that, looking back, were almost destined to fail. First on that list is Christian Hackenberg. NFL talent evaluators were baffled by Christian Hackenberg. He looked fantastic running a professional-style offense as a freshman with Bill O'Brien at Penn State, but scouts were left scratching their heads as his performance fell off a cliff. By his junior year, his completion rate had plummeted to a dismal 53.5%, highlighting some deeply concerning problems with his accuracy. In 2014, he connected on a mere 33% of his deep throws, a statistic that pointed to the significant mechanical flaws that haunted his game. Despite these red flags, the Jets took a gamble on him with the 51st overall pick in 2016, banking on their ability to coach him up. As it turned out, all that concern was completely justified. Hackenberg never took a single snap in a regular season NFL game. During organized team activities, his errant passes actually struck reporters on 2 separate occasions, and he came dangerously close to throwing 6 picks during team drills. Even with guidance from several different quarterback coaches, his inability to throw accurately showed no signs of getting better. He spent 2 full seasons on the sidelines before New York finally offloaded him to Oakland in exchange for conditional draft picks, and by 2018, his NFL journey was over. It's almost unbelievable for a second-round pick to never see the field. In stark contrast, our next player, Vernon Gholston, did get on the field, much to his team's regret. Physically, Vernon Gholston was a marvel of nature. At 266 pounds, he ran a blazing 4.58 40-yard dash, boasted a 42-inch vertical jump, and put up 37 reps on the bench press. But for all his athletic gifts, scouts had serious reservations about his work ethic and consistent drive on the field. One scout didn't mince words, labeling him embarrassing and the laziest SOB I've ever seen, and pointed out that Gholston would vanish for long periods during games, despite racking up 14 sacks at Ohio State. Despite these glaring warnings, the Jets went ahead and used the 6th overall pick in the 2008 draft on him, a choice that would backfire spectacularly. Every single one of those concerns became a reality. Across 3 full seasons, Gholston failed to record a single sack, an absolutely unheard of level of failure for a top 10 edge rusher. His total production amounted to a meager 42 tackles in 45 games before the team finally cut him loose. In the end, his incredible physical gifts went to waste simply because he wouldn't put in the work to refine his technique or give a steady effort, cementing his legacy as one of the most colossal draft busts the NFL has ever seen. And that theme of immense talent failing to meet expectations brings us perfectly to our final player in this Jets segment, Zach Wilson. There was no denying Zach Wilson's elite arm strength, but there were definitely lingering doubts. One former scout for the Jets described him as nothing more than a glorified high school quarterback who thrives when plays break down into backyard football. Scouts pointed to his inconsistent accuracy, which forced receivers to constantly leap or dive for the ball, his poor timing, a tendency to float his passes, and a fundamental struggle to operate effectively inside a structured offensive system. He truly shined when he was improvising outside the pocket after a play broke down, which led many critics to forecast that he would become an interception machine at the professional level. Add to that the fact his 2020 college schedule was laughably easy, likely inflating his stats. Nevertheless, the Jets chose him with the 2nd overall pick in 2021, passing on 3 other first-round quarterbacks to do so. In his time with the team, Wilson compiled a 12-21 record, throwing for 6,325 yards with 23 touchdowns against 25 interceptions, along with a 73.1 passer rating. To make matters worse, his 57% completion rate was the worst among all starting quarterbacks over that same period. After completely washing out in New York, he's currently holding a clipboard in Miami, and it's highly unlikely he'll ever be given the keys to an offense again. Speaking of predictable failures, let's talk about the Cleveland Browns and Brandon Weeden, who stands as perhaps the most perplexing first-round pick in modern NFL history. The entire football world was left wondering what Cleveland was thinking by using a first-round pick on a quarterback who was already 28 years old. He was set to turn 29 before even taking his first rookie snap, and his resume was thin, with only 13 collegiate starts at Oklahoma State following a long stint in minor league baseball. The consensus among talent evaluators was that his lack of experience, combined with his age and a low ceiling for improvement, made him an awful investment for a first-round selection. Cleveland disregarded the widespread advice and took him 22nd overall in 2012, a move that was instantly condemned. As Cleveland's starter, Weeden compiled a 5-15 record, throwing 23 touchdowns against 26 interceptions with a 71.8 passer rating over 2 seasons. His completion percentage stalled at a mediocre 56%, and he showed no growth beyond the player he was in his first year. He was relegated to a backup role by the time he was 30. Weeden then drifted between Dallas and Houston as a career journeyman, finishing his career with a 6-19 record before washing out of the league entirely at 35, confirming what everyone knew from the start. Drafting a 28-year-old quarterback was just as foolish as it sounded. As a star receiver at Oklahoma State, Justin Blackmon's talent was undeniable and elite, but his off-field issues cast a dark shadow, with scouts flagging major concerns about substance abuse. In 2010, he faced a DUI charge that was subsequently pleaded down to possession of alcohol by a minor. One former general manager for the Buccaneers took the concern so seriously that he assigned a scout to tail Blackmon before the draft, who reported seeing him constantly at a bar near campus, which was alarming enough for Tampa Bay to take him completely off their draft board. The Jacksonville Jaguars, however, dismissed those warnings, even trading up to grab him with the 5th overall selection in the 2012 draft. Tragically, those fears were validated almost immediately. Not even a full month after the draft, Blackmon was arrested for another DUI. Despite showing flashes of brilliance on the field, hauling in 93 passes for 1,280 yards in just 20 games, his career came to a halt when he received an indefinite suspension in 2000. 13 for a third substance abuse violation. He would never step on an NFL field again. His career finished at just 23 years old. It remains one of the most significant draft blunders in the history of the Jaguars franchise. Blackmon's story is ultimately a tragic one. Now let's look at a classic boom or bust prospect who ultimately fizzled out, Dorial Green-Beckham. Dorial Green-Beckham was a physical specimen with absolutely stunning athletic gifts. He stood 6'5", weighed 225 pounds, ran a 4.4 40, and possessed truly elite athleticism. However, his on-field intelligence and off-field character were major points of concern for scouts across the league. His time at Missouri was marred by 2 separate arrests on marijuana-related charges, which led to his dismissal from the program in April of 2014. He then transferred to Oklahoma, but was denied eligibility to play, prompting him to declare for the NFL draft instead. NFL Network's Mike Mayock perfectly captured the paradox, observing, Beckham has no idea what he's doing, but he's changing games. Ignoring the obvious risks, the Tennessee Titans rolled the dice on him, selecting him with the 40th overall pick in 2015, hoping his raw talent would win out. During his stints in Tennessee and Philadelphia, Green-Beckham managed a meager 68 catches for 941 yards and just 6 scores over 31 games. He was out of the sport by the time he was 23 because he couldn't grasp the nuances of route running or the mental side of the game, proving that incredible physical gifts are worthless without hard work and football smarts. And you absolutely can't forget about John Ross. The man set a new combine record by running a mind-blowing 4.22 40-yard dash, shattering the old mark set by Chris Johnson, yet his ability to stay healthy was a massive question mark for everyone. His medical history was a laundry list of serious issues. He'd already had surgery on his shoulder, his right meniscus, and the ACL in his left knee. He even tweaked a muscle on that historic sprint. But Cincinnati chose to overlook all of that. They went ahead and took him with the 9th overall pick in 2017, completely disregarding the flashing red lights. In a career spanning 6 seasons, Ross only managed to suit up for 38 games, hauling in a paltry 63 receptions for 963 yards and 11 touchdowns. His career was a revolving door of injuries. He played in only 3 games his first year and basically sat out the majority of 2 other seasons. For a player drafted in the top 10, Ross was an unmitigated disaster, and all those concerns about his fragility were proven right. He went down as one of the most infamous draft failures in the history of the Bengals, retiring from the game at just 27 years old. Now, let's jump from one AFC North franchise to another and talk about Justin Gilbert. Coming out of Oklahoma State, Justin Gilbert was a physical specimen with every tool you could want, but scouts were seriously worried about his lack of maturity and questionable dedication. His own defensive backs coach in college, Van Malone, told teams before the draft that Gilbert required a firm hand and a solid environment to succeed. On top of that, there were whispers and flags raised about his drinking habits before he was even drafted. Cleveland took the plunge and selected him 8th overall in 2014, a move that backfired spectacularly. Gilbert consistently skipped team meetings, using the excuse that he was a heavy sleeper. In his 2 seasons with the team, he recorded a measly 39 tackles and a single interception across 23 games, leading his own teammates to criticize his completely squandered rookie season. After endless disciplinary problems and a clear lack of commitment, Cleveland dumped him on Pittsburgh for what amounted to a 6th-round pick, a laughable return for a top 10 talent who was done with football at 25. Blake Bortles looked the part with his ideal quarterback size and agility, but there were major questions surrounding his throwing motion and overall consistency. His sloppy footwork and flawed delivery would constantly fail him, which destroyed his accuracy and the power on his throws. That long, slow wind-up, erratic ball placement, and failure to properly shift his weight were all glaring deficiencies. His deep passes would often sail or die in the air, and analysts pointed out that at UCF he mostly relied on short, safe passes, rarely attempting to challenge defenses downfield. Yet, Jacksonville grabbed him with the 3rd overall selection in 2014. In 5 years, Bortles compiled a dreadful 24-49 record, throwing for 17,646 yards with 103 touchdowns against 75 interceptions. His passer rating hovered at 80.6, and those fundamental mechanical flaws were never corrected. He was the exact same erratic passer he had been in college. Finally, we have to discuss what might be the most chilling red flag in draft history, Aaron Hernandez. At Florida, Aaron Hernandez was a transcendent talent, but his character and the company he kept were subjects of intense and widespread concern. Several franchises flat out removed him from consideration after their background investigations uncovered deeply troubling information. According to one general manager, scout reports suggested Hernandez was heavily involved in drug use, having failed numerous tests for marijuana. Another GM pointed to worries about the crowd Hernandez ran with in Florida, with intelligence linking him to possible gang affiliations. Urban Meyer's staff went to extreme lengths to try and manage him, making him travel with Tim Tebow and room with the Pouncey brothers, hoping their positive influence would rub off. Coaches explicitly told NFL teams that he needed a strict, controlled environment and admitted they got anxious whenever his old crew from Connecticut showed up in Gainesville. Brushing aside all the alarming signals, New England picked him 113th overall in the 2010 draft. And while he produced on the field 175 catches for 1,956 yards and 18 touchdowns in 3 years, Hernandez was arrested for first-degree murder in 2013 and was also a person of interest in another violent crime. The severe character issues that led so many teams to stay away became a horrifying reality, confirming every single pre-draft. Concern about his dangerous connections as he would ultimately spend the remainder of his life behind bars. So that's our look at the players who made all the pre-draft criticism look like prophecy. Appreciate you watching, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.